I was wrong about the Amazing Digital Circus. It's been almost a year since we've taken a dive into this series, and in that time, basically everything I thought I knew about it has been turned upside down. So today, let's see what's gone right and just how much I've gotten wrong. Hello internets, welcome to Film Theory, the show that's just falling into its archetype. So I want to be honest with you loyal theorists, I want to be a little vulnerable here. It's been just about a year since we've covered the Amazing Digital Circus, and that hasn't been because there's a lack of things to talk about. If you don't know, the Amazing Digital Circus is the smash hit success from Glitch Productions created by the talented Gooseworks. We did several theories about it over the years, but 3 new episodes have dropped since our last theory, all of them great, by the way, but we haven't done another theory yet because doing them is a little bit intimidating. This show and the artists who work on it are full of creative energy. They've thrown out so many ideas that felt like great hooks for theories, so naturally, we grasped onto a lot of them. Admittedly, a lot of the theories we made are a bit out there. I mean, Pomni is an evil AI, and the Digital Circus is literally hell? Well, given the current state of AI, maybe that's not too far from being realistic. But the point is that we took a lot of big swings when talking about the Amazing Digital Circus. And as you'd expect with a lot of big swings, some of those were big misses. And oh boy, did the comments sure let us know that. If there's one thing I've learned over the past couple of years with this show, it's that the fan base of the Amazing Digital Circus is incredibly passionate and incredibly protective of these characters. And you know what? I respect that a lot. I get it. The vibe and tone of the Digital Circus captured a lot of what I'm sure an entire generation has felt over the past 5 years in a way that I haven't seen in like a decade. That is worth feeling protective of. But this is a community and a series that I really do miss. I loved talking about it and I want to make more theories about it. But at the same time, I want to level set. I want to rethink how and why we approach this series and how we theorize about it. So here's what I want to do today, loyal theorists. I want to go back and look at all of our theories about the Amazing Digital Circus, go through them and look at them with the additional information we've gotten over the past 3 episodes, and see if any of them actually hold up. Spoiler alert, I think a couple of them were really solid. And a lot of them, didn't pan out. That is a charitable way to put it. We'll also catch ourselves up on the big revelations the show has given us, and see if we can figure out the direction the series is headed using all of this new information. And hey, maybe, just maybe, we'll figure out the best way to make new theories about this show. Sound good? Well, I hope so. Put your ideas in the suggestion box, loyal theorists, as we dive into this new adventure with the Amazing Digital Circus. So just real quick, our first few theories about this series actually came out back when Matt was hosting the show, so don't get whiplash if you hear his voice while I pull quotes from them. Also, a lot of them were made when we basically had zero knowledge of the show beyond episode 1, so I'm probably going to be blasting through a few of them pretty quickly just to save time and help our editors out. I mean, I can tell by the script link that this video is already very long. Alright, so what's up first?
Everything in the show is literally a video game set in the late 1990s.
Yeah, this one's pretty self-explanatory and also pretty thoroughly debunked. Not only do the characters talk about technology and use slang from the modern age,
and posting videos of it online.
Ah, a YouTuber. It's kinda cringe.
but there's also a gravestone in episode 3 reading R.I.P. Peggy 2019 to 2022. So yeah, there you go. Maybe the Digital Circus was made in the 90s itself, but the series is more or less set in the modern day. Though I will say the Digital Circus being a game from the 90s would really help them out with like plenty of product placement, right? Like just think of the gateway PCs or Nokia phones they could get in here. Or hey, what are those? Is that some limited time Grooney Smith Apple Groons gummies? The partner for today's theory? Why, yes, they are. Listen, guys, not all of us live in a computer world that can survive anything. We need to worry about our bits and bytes, and as I've been getting older, I've wanted to get more serious about my health. And thankfully, I have Groons to help me out with that. Isn't that right, Pomni? She's a plush, she can't talk. Groons does a lot. They're multivitamins, prebiotics, and green gummies all in one. These guys are packed with over 20 vitamins and minerals, and 60 nutrient-rich ingredients, like stuff you'll actually know the names of, like kale, spinach, blueberries, stuff like that. Plus, you're actually gonna get the right dosages of those nutrients in here. The vitamins are at 100% and minerals at around 25%. Safe and effective amounts. There's actually so much good stuff packed in here that they couldn't fit it all into one gummy, so you get to eat a whole package. Which is great because they taste frickin' awesome. Ken here's gonna eat a whole bag. Groons are vegan, nut-free, gluten-free, dairy-free, use no synthetic sweeteners or dyes, and come in either low sugar or sugar-free options. Basically, if you have a dietary restriction, they've probably got you covered. And they can have some real visible benefits too. Along with gut health and boosting your immune system and energy levels, the ingredients in here also help with your skin, hair, and nail health. So you'll be upgrading your charisma stats along with everything else. And if you're in the mood for some fall flavors, Groons has a super limited edition Groony Smith apple flavor available for a limited time. It's all the same benefits we've talked about, but with the feeling of fall packed in too. If you want to try these out, go check out Groons using my link in the description to get up to 52% off. These things will be selling out, dude. Trust me, get them while you can. Thanks again to Groons for sponsoring today's episode, and let's get back into the amazing digital circus. Alright, so which theory is up next?
Pomni helped create this hell simulation that they're currently stuck in.
Yep, so the idea here was that Pomni was a programmer at CNA, the people we think created the digital circus. And our main bit of evidence came from how Pomni reacts to seeing the recreation of the computer and desk with the VR headset while she's running through the back rooms in episode 1. However, just like that first mini-theory, this one is completely debunked. In episode 5, we get a great scene with everyone at a noir-themed bar, and we get a glimpse at a lot of their backstories, including Pomni's. Here, she explains,
I was an accountant for a supermarket chain.
And she ended up in the digital circus because
I sometimes got bored of things, and I would seek out mild thrills, like exploring abandoned buildings and posting videos of it online.
The implication here is that she broke into the office building, put on the headset, and got sucked into the circus, not that she helped make it. Like, it's a pretty open and shut case there, honestly. Also, this explains the little mental breakdown we see in the backroom section of the circus that Kane created. It wasn't her getting triggered by her workstation, but instead having that mental break recognizing the building she broke into and the headset she put on that got her trapped in this mess to begin with. Also, a little bit of a tangent, but I have to say, I loved this little scene at the noir bar, just letting the characters talk and learn about each other. Like, we'll be back here to talk about this again, I'm sure about it. Okay, so our third theory from back in the day.
All the characters aren't actually humans trapped inside the digital circus.
So the long and short of this, we believed that instead of the humans keeping the headsets on as their brains are being used by the circus, Sword Art Online style, they were instead copied and turned into their characters in the cast. Real talk, this one was a big swing, even back then, and there isn't a ton of hard evidence for it as the series has gone on. Really, the biggest piece of evidence that we don't see any bodies attached to the headsets in the real world could just be explained away with cartoon logic. Like, hey, they just got digitized and literally sucked into the computer like Tron or Digimon. Don't worry about it. Don't think too hard. The whole idea that they're just digital brain clones is an extra layer of complexity that, at this point, probably would not really make sense for this story since they haven't explored that at all yet. So yeah, sure, this theory could still be true, but there's no real reason for it. Alright, so last up in the era of Matt, we've got...
The Amazing Digital Circus is, quite literally, hell.
Yeah, okay, that sentence is still very funny, and this episode was incredible theorist out of context fodder. Now, to be clear, this one was always out there, and we knew it. It was more of a fun side thought based on a bunch of parallels with Christian mythology that we noticed. I mean, we even say as much in that actual episode if you go back and watch it. The evidence we pulled was mostly symbolic. Pomni wears the same colors that many depictions of Jesus do, the characters are deliberately arranged similar to the famous Last Supper painting at the end of episode 1. The themes of the show are very similar to a play called No Exit, where hell was being trapped with other people that you couldn't stand. You know, that sort of stuff. And I believe that thematically, this theory is still pretty solid. Like, obviously, the circus isn't literally an embodiment of the Christian hell, but the parallels are clear and metaphorically, it very much is. And this crazy idea was later validated, even if just a little, by episode 3 of the series. The one where Pomni and Kinger go to a version of hell during an adventure and fight a biblically accurate angel. So yeah, fun idea, thematically on point, but not super serious or relevant to the future of the show. Oh, and a little bit of an aside here, because there's not really a better place to mention this in the rest of the episode, but perhaps the best bit of new evidence for this part of the whole theory? Well, we connected Kane and the company that created the digital circus, CNA, to the biblical figures Cain and Abel. And in the latest episode, there's an interesting moment where Kane pulls out some pictures of of the CNA office and just looks at them. It's a bit difficult to read his exact emotions here because, he's a set of teeth and a pair of eyeballs, but there is some sort of recognition, which, hey, makes sense because he would need to know about these offices to create the backrooms from episode 1. At the very least, we can confidently say that this particular connection between Kane and CNA is a thread that this series will continue pulling. Okay, so that's one of our more silly theories down, but what about something a bit more serious? What's next?
One of these characters in the Amazing Digital Circus is an AI imposter.
Okay, alright. Next up is our theory that one of the quote-unquote human characters is actually an evil AI that's infiltrated the cast to torture them, and the most likely suspect, Jax. Now, I believed this was the case for many reasons, most of which I thought were understandable at the time. First off, it was heavily implied that an NPC had come into the circus at some point.
I know you guys love your NPCs, but if I start losing track of who's a human and who's an NPC, who knows what could happen?
And a lot of time in the episodes were spent saying either just how good the AI in the circus has gotten,
I'm testing out a new AI in this one! It should be 57 times more immersive!
or showing just how human a lot of the AI characters like Gummy Goo could act when given the chance.
Doesn't matter in the slightest. I'm nothing. My life, my memories, my friends, it's all fake.
Seriously, this show was just dripping with the theme that the human characters and the AI aren't actually all that different. And what better way to build on that than with the twist that one of them is an AI? Jax made the most sense to me. He was antagonistic, excited to go on the adventure so that he could torture his fellow castmates, ignored the laws of physics in ways that the other characters didn't really seem to, was the only main human character interested in food, something only NPCs were interested in up until that point, and was the only character in the cast outside of NPCs like Kane and Bubble that could break the fourth wall and look or talk directly to the audience. At the time, combined with all of those thematic parallels, I really thought that this one made sense and was going to pan out. But, well, it's very clearly not the case now that we have more episodes. Most of those quirks turned out to be just that, quirks. He likes food just because it's something to do and enjoy in this digital world. Being mean to the others is straight up a character flaw he's taken on himself because he feels like it's his archetype.
We're still people, though, right?
I thought we were at first, but as time goes on, we just end up falling into our archetypes, become part of the machine.
What's your archetype then? The villain?
Man, Pastely would have pointed at this line and screamed, see, he's part of the machine, he's basically admitting he's an AI. But Present enlightenedly sees this for what it is. A human character who's been beaten down so much, he doesn't see a point in fighting against the machine that's assimilating him. Okay, so what about the defying physics then? Well, mostly, that was just for the lulz. And it's not something I think the other characters couldn't do if they really wanted to. See, one of the moments that really stood out to me in this latest episode was this right here. After getting hurt before the in-house gun adventure, Ragatha starts out with one fewer life than everyone else. But Kinger has a solution.
Oh, I've got just the thing. Here, take this.
Wait, what did you just do?
It's a butterfly. It can restore your health.
Did Kane mention that?
Oh, nah, I made it up.
Yeah, Kinger straight up made up a new rule in the circus and restored health in one of the games. To me, this isn't saying that Kinger is special or anything like that. This is telling me that the cast have way more control here than they probably think they do. Something also supported in the previous episode when they could vote on changing the other castmates, like turning Jax into a vegan.
I'm calling a vote. Let's skip this one and also make Jax a vegan for the rest of the day.
You can't do that.
So, all of the physics-defying stuff Jax was doing, it was literally just because he wanted to. Just like the butterfly restoring health, and other smaller things, like Jax and Pani shooting the guns all cool-like just because they can. But more than any of this, the thing that really disproves Jax as an AI, Jax clearly has a human backstory because it seems like he was brought into the circus with a friend, or at the very least became good friends with another character before the start of the series. This character was likely named Ribbit, as we learned from a Tumblr post from Gooseworks, and he abstracted just before Kaufmo. We see Jax look at Ribbit's door, sadly, and he becomes upset when anything regarding the character is mentioned. Which, hey, understandable if your best friend basically died right in front of you and there was nothing you could do about it. This is why he's so detached from the others, why he didn't attend Kaufmo's funeral, why he's embraced being the antagonistic funny guy. He just doesn't want to feel this pain again, because if he does, well, we see at the end of the last episode. He almost abstracts and only barely pulls himself back, a storyline I expect we'll be coming back to in future episodes. Ironically, this kind of makes Jax the most human character of them all, doesn't it? But that theory wasn't alone, it was part of a pair. So, up next...
Is Pomni from the Amazing Digital Circus an AI imposter?
Ah, yes, of course, one of my more infamous theories here. Pomni is actually an evil AI. But hey, like this one, yeah, they were totally going down this route, dude.
Today, I'm just gonna be evil. Those other fools better watch their tails because they're going to face the wrath of Pomni the Evil!
See, that's why she has the evil arc in one of these episodes. I'm not crazy, you're crazy. Okay, no, but for real, this idea was a stretch even back when we made it. I mean, we even said as much in the episode. A big component of this theory was about looking at the science of artificial intelligence, how it works, and then applying that knowledge to the Amazing Digital Circus to see if anything fit. There were some cases where they kinda did if you squinted a little bit, and combined with the idea from the previous theory that someone was likely an AI, that was the backbone of this one. But yeah, nah, this is absolutely not the direction the series went. Outside of looking at the technology of AI, probably the biggest evidence I saw for this was just how much we saw Pomni empathizing with NPC characters like Gummy Goo. Again, I saw this as Glitch setting up the idea that the AI and humans aren't so different, with Pomni directly as the bridge between the two, but that's just not the case. I feel very confident that Pomni is exactly who she appears to be, a very normal human with the very normal human backstory we've heard in the newer episodes. All of that empathy she was showing Gummy Goo, it was just Pomni being empathetic and setting up those tools of empathy to be used with other characters like Kinger, Ragatha, and Jax later in the show. This is a situation where I really just have to use Occam's razor. This is a philosophical and problem-solving tool that states that the simplest answer is most often the most likely answer. So, is Pomni an evil AI? No, she's just an empathetic person. Though I do have to say, it feels like the show is really rubbing both the Jax is an AI and Pomni is an AI theory in my face with this scene in particular.
Daisy, Daisy, give me your answer.
Are you seriously gonna start singing that?
If you don't know, this is a song called Daisy Bell, and it's significant because it was actually the first song that was ever reproduced digitally. Yeah, back in 1961, IBM programmed one of their computers to sing it, demonstrating early speech synthesis.
Daisy, Daisy, give me your answer, ooh.
And the song was later included as part of the computer character HAL 9000 in 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Daisy, Daisy, give me your answer, too.
So, like, come on, man. This is clearly just a fun little Easter egg, but dude, Hastily would have eaten that up as part of those old theories. Alright, so cool. That theory is behind us. What's next?
I need a living host in order to escape the Hall of the Damned, and your bodies will be my only means of doing so.
This is the key to the entire future of this series.
Yeah, it's our theory that the Amazing Digital Circus is actually out to steal your soul. So this one is a bit complicated, but the TLDW, I was trying to piece together what happens to cast members after they abstract, and using the adventures that Kane was coming up with as a sort of rubric for the overall plans of the AI in the circus. Basically, the circus was dehumanizing the human characters, and when they eventually abstract from that loss of humanity, I thought the raw computing power of their brains was being added to the circus's AI. And the why it was doing this? Well, it was in an attempt to escape its computery prison body. This was represented by the storyline that Pomni and Kinger follow in the spooky haunted house adventure Kane makes, with a dark spirit trying to escape from its hellish prison. Looking back, I actually think that a lot of the pieces we put together here do make a lot of sense given the knowledge of the series we had at the time, so go check out that theory if you want the full context. But that being said, with these 3 additional episodes, that just doesn't seem to be the direction that the Amazing Digital Circus is headed. Like, if this was indeed the long-term storyline of the series, we would have seen way more buildup of this idea, but all we've gotten instead was acknowledgement that Kane knows about stuff in the outside world. There really just haven't been any more hidden messages about a deeper AI entity, or any more exploration of abstraction, happen and whether or not that influences the circus. And if that was the long-term play, we absolutely would have gotten more of it by now. But instead, we're 2/3 of the way through this thing, and that's basically all we've gotten. Instead, this show is way more interested in exploring its individual characters and their dynamics, which, hey, leads us to the next theory.
Kinger is going to be a tragic character with a tragic end.
Yep, it's our little character study about Kinger's backstory and his eventual fate in the show. If you missed this one, I believed that Kinger was some sort of bigwig at CNA with a past that he'd rather forget, and that past was likely getting his wife involved with the digital circus, which would eventually lead to her death through abstraction. This was based off of his appearance, his similarities to the character Theodore Mildenhall in one of the adventures, his competence with guns, and how other characters prod about the loss of his wife. We also speculated that he'd be the next character to abstract thanks to, and I kid you not, socks. Yeah, there are a pair of abstraction-themed socks on the Glitch store that use Kinger and Queenie's color schemes, so it just made sense. So overall, I'm still really proud of this theory. I think it's really solid stuff, even if some of the smaller details might be off or need to change thanks to new information we've gotten since episode 3. Like, merch might not necessarily be the indicator of what Glitch plans to do with these characters like I thought at the time. I mean, they're selling plushies of Pomni dressed up as Jax and Pomni as a hamster? Stuff that is more symbolic or clearly non-canon, but just totally cute. And given that Jax seems to be on the brink of abstraction himself, well, Kinger might not be next on the chopping block, but I can still definitely see a future where this is the eventual fate for our lovable little chess piece. Now, looking back at all of these theories, what's panned out and what hasn't, it's got me thinking about how we can possibly move forward theorizing about this show. And I do have an idea. It mostly comes from something Gooseworks said recently about the series during a live stream, and specifically it was about what she expects the reaction to the next episode to be. Check it.
I'm really excited for the reaction to that one.
It's gonna piss off.
It's gonna make people mad. It's only gonna piss off the right people.
Okay, so right off the bat, this could mean a lot of things. The people who could get mad at this upcoming episode could come from a wide gamut. Like, will it be Jax fans getting angry? There have been several camps of Jax stans that have swung back and forth at being angry and elated at the direction his character has gone. Or heck, maybe it could be people upset that he's gonna abstract. Or the people getting mad could be shippers, people who want Jax and Pomni to get together, or any other combination of characters. But another option I think is worth exploring here, well, what if the people who are going to get mad are theorists? Don't get me wrong, I don't think Gooseworks, or anyone else at Glitch for that matter, are making their shows with like me in mind, with these channels in mind. That's ridiculous, and I actually know for a fact that a lot of them avoid theory videos from creators here on YouTube so it doesn't influence their writing. And I don't want to come across as thinking that these creators are talking about literally us here in these actual clips. That's not my intention. No, but I think even if that isn't what they meant, theorists could have the same reaction to the next few episodes as what they've described here. Really, the big takeaway I've had after sitting and thinking about this series over the past year, seeing new episodes drop and all of the commentary from Gooseworks and the other creators, is I don't think there is going to be a big theory twist. There is no secret AI or hidden story. The Amazing Digital Circus is exactly what it says on the tin. It's a character-driven series dissecting its cast, their relationships with one another, and the drama that follows, all while they're tortured by their AI overlord Koen, which means that they're getting to know each other better, revealing things about their backstories that they clearly haven't before, and are growing as people because of it. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't blame us online theorists for really jumping on this series. There were certainly a lot of seeds planted early on, and hell, even in recent episodes, that could grow into some crazy twist or unforeseen storyline that maybe, just maybe, you could suss out by putting the pieces together. But so far, the Amazing Digital Circus hasn't really seemed interested in following up on any of that. Well, at least the ones that aren't focused on character moments like Kinger's backstory. But the big stuff, like the hints that we picked up that one of the main cast is actually an evil AI toying with the humans, or that there's an evil AI buried deep in the circus that wants to escape, those just aren't threads they've pulled on, nor do I expect them to as the series goes forward. Like, at this point, it would be a really big turn into left field and probably make things worse for the overall story. And you know what? Good. That's a great thing. I mean, don't misunderstand. I love a good theory-driven show. I mean, just look at what channel you're on. But also, there comes a point in your life when you realize that not everything is a FNAF or a Gravity Falls. Not everything needs to have a secret story hidden beneath layers and layers of lore and puzzle solving. Sometimes it really is just that simple. And honestly, that's a breath of fresh air. Like, I thought going in that the Amazing Digital Circus was gonna be like Lost, with a bunch of mysteries to solve and theories driving the online conversation, but instead, we just got a good TV show. In retrospect, I think what I should have done with this series was really dig more into the characters. And I don't mean by trying to figure out, like, who's the evil AI spy or anything like that. I mean, trying to figure out their backstories or what issues they're dealing with. Just really do character studies on them, similar to what we did with Kinger last year, to see if we could figure out what the creators of the Digital Circus are saying with each of their cast members instead of trying to make sense out of what they weren't saying. And you know, it might be worth going back and doing that now, examining this cast and doing some lore breakdowns and theorizing about each of them from there. You know, instead of going crazy with something just off the wall. So if you're interested in those, please let me know in the comments below. But until then, remember, the beauty of these channels is that it's always just a theory. A film theory. And cut.
Up next on Film Theory, the Amazing Digital Circus has told us exactly who the next person to abstract is.